In 2026, a lot of Americans will walk up to the gate, US passport in hand, and hear, "Where's your authorization?" Your passport will still be valid, but suddenly it won't be enough. Between Europe's new entry-exit system, ETIAS pre-approval, the UK's ETA, and a wave of face scan checkpoints, that blue booklet is turning into just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. If you show up thinking I've got my passport, I'm fine, you could be sent to the slow line, pulled aside at check-in, or denied boarding over a rule you didn't even know existed. In this video, we'll break down what's actually changing for US passport holders in 2026, what extra approvals, apps, and IDs you'll need, and how to sort it all out before you book your next flight. And we'll start with the European system that feels straight out of a sci-fi movie. It scans your biometrics and quietly clocks every time you enter and leave the Schengen zone. Across Europe, border control is quietly going fully digital. On a future trip, you might walk toward passport control expecting a booth and a stamp, and instead find yourself queuing for a row of glass gates. Under the new EES, passport stamps are being phased out at most external Schengen borders. Rollout starts in October 2025, and by early 2026, the old ink-on-page routine is replaced by a shared database. Every time you enter or leave, your face, fingerprints, and travel details are logged, not just stamped. Ever tried to play chicken with the 90 days and any 180 rule? Those days are over. The system can see exactly when you came and went, so the "I think I'm still under 90 days" guess doesn't fly anymore. If you've been doing the day 89 in, day 90 out dance, the computer will see that immediately, and an overstay becomes a data problem, not a smudge stamp debate. The first time you hit an EES border may feel a bit clunky. New kiosks, confusing arrows, everyone learning the choreography at once. After that, it starts to feel more automatic and, at busy times, often quicker than the old stamp line. Passport down, quick face check, gate opens. You're moving while the booth queue is still shuffling forward. It's a bit sci-fi, fingerprints and face scans just to spend a weekend in Barcelona. But if you give yourself a small time buffer the first time and have your story straight, why you're there, when you're leaving, that 90-day limit in mind, it turns into one extra step in the flow, not a trip-ending plot twist. Not just Europe, airports in the United States are rolling out biometrics too. In the United States, TSA is testing biometric e-gates with Clear at select checkpoints. Instead of crawling through the regular ID line, Clear Plus members head to a dedicated lane where a quick scan and face check clears them straight into security. That first ID bottleneck drops to a few seconds instead of a few minutes. For now, it's only available to paying Clear Plus members at a small group of airports like Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and Seattle. And the service runs about $209 a year. Is it essential? Not for everyone, but if you already have TSA PreCheck, fly a lot through a Clear heavy hub, and you're tired of watching the regular ID line barely creep forward while boarding time gets closer, those biometric gates can quietly turn the slowest part of security into the one place you actually breeze through. Clearing the border is only level 1. Level 2 is way less dramatic, but it ruins more days. Your bag. You show up with the same little suitcase that's always been fine. It fit last year, it fit at Christmas, it should fit now. But this time, instead of a quick glance from an agent, you're staring at a tight metal sizer, a digital pad, and a screen deciding whether your bag flies with you or vanishes into the hold. Cabin bags are turning into products with price tags, not favors that sneak on for free. In Europe, big low-cost names like Ryanair now promise one small underseat bag for free, up to around 40 by 30 by 20 centimeters. Sounds friendly, until your bag doesn't slip easily into the frame. If it bulges, it can be sent to the hold with a hefty fee added right at the gate. If your strategy has been, it's a little puffy, they'll let it slide, that move is aging badly. Across the Atlantic, United States ultra-low-cost carriers run a similar playbook. A small personal item under the seat is still included in the base fare. The moment your bag looks like a standard roller in the overhead, you're in paid carry-on territory. On many routes, that carry-on runs roughly $30 to $60 each way, and if you wait until the airport or the gate, you're usually paying the higher end of that range. The $39 fare only makes sense if you know exactly how many bags you're bringing and what each one costs. Then there's weight. In parts of Europe and Asia, cabin bags are capped around 8 to 10 kilos, even if they slide into the bin with no problem. In the United States, low-cost carriers obsess over size first, but you'll still see numbers like 35 pounds for a carry-on hiding in the fine print. The real takeaway? Those weight limits on the airline's site are the same ones agents will use when they decide if your bag can stay with you. In this new era, the real upgrade isn't a new suitcase. It's knowing exactly what your airline thinks that suitcase is worth. So build everything around a true personal item. Pick a small, structured underseat bag that clearly fits the posted dimensions. Not if I sit on it, but comfortably inside. Use compressible cubes or pouches. Keep all your cables and chargers in one slim kit, and reserve that space for things you cannot afford to check. Medication, tech, documents, and one simple backup outfit. Then stress test it at home. Mark out a sizer on the floor with tape, or compare your bag to one you already know fits under most seats. Step on a scale with and without the bag if your airline lists a cabin weight limit. If it's borderline in your bedroom, it's not going to magically shrink in front of a stressed out gate agent. You want to walk into the terminal thinking, this bag fits their box and I know exactly what I paid for. So any extra charge is your decision, not a jump scare at the gate. After everything we've just talked about with stricter cabin rules and paid overhead space, that headline, European Union to make carry-on bags free, sounds like a miracle. It's tempting to think, cool, this will fix all of that. The idea in Brussels is genuinely traveler-friendly. One standard cabin bag in the overhead for everyone, plus a personal item under the seat, with clearer size rules across EU airlines. Less guessing, fewer gotcha fees, but right now, that's still a conversation, not a system you can lean on at check-in. Airlines are pushing back, governments still have to agree on the details, and even if something passes, carriers are already hinting they'll just roll part of the cost into higher base fares. For now, that means nothing really changes for your next Europe trip. Ryanair, Wizz, EasyJet, and the rest are still playing by today's playbook. Tiny free underseat bags, paid rollers in the overhead, sizers at the gate, waiting for anyone who hopes for the best. So think of the EU free carry-on plan as a maybe later upgrade, not a hack for your next flight. Until you see it printed in your fare rules and on your booking confirmation, it's just a nice headline. The last place you want to discover that is wrong is at the gate, with a line behind you, a full flight in front of you, and a €70 card charge popping up on the screen while that article you read can't help you at all. You've survived check-in and the carry-on games. Next boss level on your trip, security. This is the part that can finally feel smoother. Across parts of Europe and the UK, more airports are installing CT scanners that build a 3D image of your bag. That tech lets security see your laptop, cables, and liquids clearly without you unpacking your life into a mountain of trays. In lanes that have fully switched, liquid limits are being relaxed, and bottles up to around 2 liters can stay in your bag, with big electronics tucked inside as well. I still remember the first time I hit one of these lanes at London City Airport. I walked up already mentally preparing to unpack, and the officer just waved me through. My bag went in zipped, came out zipped, and I just saved a good 5 minutes of security gymnastics without even trying. Well, the first time you walk through with a laptop and full-size toiletries still in your backpack, it feels almost wrong in a good way. But the glow-up comes with a catch. It isn't everywhere, and it isn't consistent. On one European trip, you might breeze through a CT lane in under a minute. Bag closed, nothing pulled out. A short hop away, you're back to lining up tiny bottles in a plastic bag and wrestling your laptop out like nothing ever changed. The UK shows this split in real time. A big hub like Heathrow may still be strict about 100 milliliters in many lanes, while a regional airport that's fully kitted out with CT, think Birmingham, or another smaller field can let you keep larger liquids sealed in your bag at the new scanners. Same country, totally different experience depending on where you start. In the United States, the pattern is similar with different labels. TSA is adding CT scanners to more major hubs, and at some of those newer lanes, you're allowed to leave laptops and liquids inside your carry-on. A few checkpoints away in the same terminal, an older belt still expects everything out in separate trays. The 3.4-ounce limit is still the baseline. What changes is whether you have to display those liquids in a clear bag or can leave them buried in your backpack. To stop the checkpoint from becoming its own mini-drama, think in two modes. Before you travel, glance at your departure and return airports online or in their apps. If they brag about new scanners or updated liquid rules, there's a good chance you'll get the no unpacking treatment in at least some lanes. If they don't mention it, pack as if everything needs to come out. Small bottles together, laptop and tablet, easy to grab. Once you're in line, let the signs and the officers be the script, not your last trip or something you saw on TikTok. If the board clearly says laptops and liquids can stay in your bag, enjoy the easy mode. If directions are vague or they're calling out for items to come out, switch to unpack mode fast and you'll usually move ahead of the people standing there arguing with the rules. And even after you clear the X-ray tunnel, the modernization doesn't stop. At more gates, the classic paper boarding pass is taking a back seat to your phone. And in some airports, a quick ID check is already blending into the same biometric world that's changing border control. Quick question. Did you know your passport is slowly living a double life? Half in your hand, half in your phone? That sounds dramatic, but it's already happening. Think about that blue book you've been carrying for years. If you've renewed your US passport recently, the photo page probably feels different, stiffer, more like a hard card fused into the booklet. That's the next generation design. Tougher material, laser-sharp printing, and a chip that holds the same details you see on the page. To you, it's still the same old passport. To the systems reading it, it's like your document showed up in a new suit of armor and said, "I'm ready for the 2020 seconds now." The part you actually notice, though, lives on your phone. More and more states let you add a mobile driver's license into Apple Wallet or Google Wallet, and TSA already accepts those at a growing number of checkpoints for domestic flights. The ritual changes. Instead of fishing around for a plastic card, you double tap the side of your phone, choose your ID, tap it on a reader, and approve what you share. No more, "Hang on, my license is hiding behind 3 receipts and a crumpled boarding pass." Then the airline apps join the party. In the background, some airlines and airports, Delta and United, for example, are testing digital travel credentials. Basically, a secure travel profile that keeps your passport details and trip info tied together. On your end, it just feels smoother. You upload your details once, the app tells you you're ready to fly, and the next morning check-in takes 30 seconds because the system isn't meeting you for the first time. It's slick, it's fast, and it's where things are clearly heading. But there's one line you don't want to cross, assuming the digital version replaces the real thing. A mobile ID can help you at TSA, but it doesn't stand in for a passport book at immigration. An airline app can hold your boarding pass perfectly right up until your phone decides it's time to freeze, update, or die at 2% battery while they're calling final boarding. So the smart play is this: let the digital tools handle convenience and keep old school documents as your backup plan. You stash your passport somewhere, you can grab it without unpacking half your carry-on. You let the app generate your boarding pass, but you also add it to your wallet or snap a quick screenshot so you're not begging the terminal Wi-Fi to load at the last second. And for big once-a-year trips, printing one boring little paper pass isn't overkill. It's the most low-tech, low-stress insurance you'll ever carry. Biometrics and digital IDs are flashy. The quiet money leak is hiding a few pixels lower on your screen. From 2025 into the next couple of years, a lot of the new rules don't feel like a big announcement at the airport. They feel like this: the base fare looks normal, but the total somehow doesn't. I've had it happen more than once. I think I've found a win. Great timing, decent airline, price looks fine. Then I open the breakdown and realize a surprising chunk of what I'm paying isn't the flight at all. It's that little block called taxes and fees, quietly doing push-ups in the corner. You can see it most clearly in places like the United Kingdom. From April 2026, the air passenger duty on short-haul economy tickets nudges up again from about £13 to £15 per person. £2 feels small until you do the family of four round-trip math and realize you've just paid £16 more for the exact same route. No extra legroom, no free snacks, just more. Meanwhile, across Europe, you've got environmental and solidarity charges in the mix, and big airports pushing for higher passenger and landing fees to help pay for new terminals, rail links, and greener upgrades. Some of that is already in place. Some of it is still being argued over. From your side, it all shows up as one longer, harder to read line at checkout. And the United States isn't sitting this out either. Stuff like the 9/11 security fee, segment fees, passenger facility charges, and carrier surcharges have been around for years. But on a simple round trip, it's now totally normal to see $30 to $60 of your total coming from that extra section, not the fare itself. I'm not telling you this to turn every booking into an economics class. It's more like adding two tiny habits that protect your wallet without killing the mood. First thing I do now, when a fare looks good, I always peek one line down. How much is base fare? How much is taxes and fees? If the second number is starting to chase the first, that's my cue to compare. Maybe I shift the trip to a nearby airport or check another airline on the same route. In Europe especially, flying out of one city instead of another can quietly shave a chunk off the tax bill. Second thing, I let my card soak up some of the boring stuff. A lot of travel credit cards now give you an annual travel credit or statement credit. Instead of wasting that on a random seat fee, I try to aim it at the unavoidable extras, higher duties, fuel surcharges, even a green fee on certain routes out of hubs like Singapore as they phase in cleaner fuel charges. If I'm going to pay it, I'd rather have a bank help refund it. You can't stop governments and airports from tweaking their slice of the ticket. But once you start checking that taxes and fees block on purpose, the price jumps feel less like a sneaky punch in the gut and more like one more part of the game you actually know how to work with. Picture this. You're at the counter for your dream Italy trip, and the agent says, "Passport, please." And your ETIAS? That's the moment all the new European rules catch up with you. ETIAS is Europe's new pre-screen for visa-free visitors. It's not a full visa, it's more like a quick background check before they let you on the plane. If you've ever used ESTA for the United States, it's the same vibe. Short form online, small fee, and you get permission to make short trips up to 90 days in any 180-day stretch around most of mainland Europe. So when does it become something you need to have? First, Europe switches on EES, the system that logs your entries and exits in late 2025. ETIAS then starts up in the last part of 2026. At the beginning, there's a transition period. The system is live and you can apply, but if you show up without ETIAS and you otherwise qualify to enter, you can still be boarded. As that phase ends and we move into 2027, it shifts from nice to have to this should be on your checklist for United States and other visa-exempt travelers. Money-wise, think of ETIAS as a small subscription to Europe. The fee is €20 for most travelers aged 18 to 70. Under 18s and over 70s don't pay. Once approved, it's valid for up to 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. One approval can cover multiple trips, so if you love Europe, you're not paying every single time. The process itself is simple. You sit down with your passport, go to the official ETIAS website or app, fill in your details, answer a few security questions, pay, and wait for an email. Approval is linked electronically to your passport. No sticker, no paper to print. The real danger isn't the form, it's the timing and the fakes. The nightmare version is booking for late 2026, hearing ETIAS for the first time at check-in and realizing you never applied. The second place nightmare is paying a scam site double the fee because it looked official enough. So for Europe, here's the new rhythm. Book flights, book hotel, get ETAs once it's live. Do it a few weeks before you travel, use only the official site, and make sure the passport number matches the book you're carrying. Then when the agent asks, "Do you have your ETIAS?" you get to be the calm one in the line. ETIAS covers most of mainland Europe. Hop over to London though, and suddenly you're playing by a different rulebook. The United Kingdom now uses ETA, the Electronic Travel Authorization. If ETIAS is Europe's version of ESTA, ETA is Britain's. It's a quick online pre-check for most visa-free visitors heading to England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland. You send your details in before you travel, the system runs a fast background check, and if all looks good, you get the green light to board. This isn't a sometime in the future change. ETA began rolling out in 2024 and became mandatory for more nationalities from January 8th, 2025. As it expands through 2025, by the time you're planning trips in 2026, the safe assumption is simple. If you used to enter the United Kingdom visa-free with just a passport, you'll now need an ETA on file as well. The only way to be sure is to check your nationality on the official UK government site before you book. The process itself is fairly painless. You grab your passport, open the official United Kingdom ETA app or the gov.uk page, fill in your basic details, upload a photo, answer a few security questions, pay, and wait for a decision. Most approvals come through quickly, but you're told to allow up to a few days just in case. Once it's granted, the ETA is linked to your passport electronically, no printouts required. Cost and value are straightforward. An ETA is £10, it lets you make multiple trips over 2 years, and each visit can last up to about 6 months for tourism, short business, or visiting friends and family. As long as your passport stays the same, one approval can easily cover a couple of years' worth of United Kingdom stopovers. The trap is transit. If you stay airside during a connection and never go through United Kingdom passport control, you generally don't need an ETA. The moment your itinerary sends you through the border, even just to sleep at an airport, hotel, or switch airports, you're in ETA-required territory. That's why people get caught at check-in. The ticket quietly routes them through United Kingdom immigration, and nobody told them they needed one more digital pass. So when you're stitching London onto a Europe trip, think of it like this. Europe runs on your passport plus ETIAS. The United Kingdom runs on your passport plus ETA, its own separate yes or no. Handle those two approvals a couple of weeks before you fly. Use only the official sites or app, and double-check the passport number on each. Then when the agent asks, "Do you have your ETA as well?" you're the one nodding calmly, not the person stepping out of line to frantically apply for an ETA on your phone at the last minute. Real ID used to feel like that group project nobody ever finished. The deadline kept moving, the signs at the airport kept warning, and somehow nothing actually changed. Then May 7th, 2025 hit, and the rule is finally real. Here's what it means in plain airport language. To use a state ID or driver's license at TSA for a domestic flight, it has to be Real ID compliant. That usually means there's a small star in the corner, sometimes inside a gold circle, sometimes styled a bit differently depending on the state. If your card has no star, or it says things like Federal Limit Supply, it still works for driving, but TSA can't treat it as your only ID to get through security anymore. The good news is you're not stuck if your license is old school. Under the new rules, TSA will still accept other documents for flying inside the US. Like a valid United States passport or passport card, a global entry, Nexus, or Sentry card, certain enhanced driver's licenses from border states, or a military ID. Kids under 18 can still fly on a regular ticket without their own real ID as long as they're traveling with an adult who has proper identification. So the pressure is mostly on the grown-ups. The people getting burned are the ones who only find out at the rope line. You've probably seen it. Someone hands over their license, the officer tilts it, points at the corner, and says, "After the enforcement date, this won't work by itself." That used to be just a warning. In 2026, the next part of that sentence can be, do you have a passport or another ID with you today? If the answer is no, that trip might be over before the bins. So, do yourself a favor and check now while you're still at home. If there's no star or real ID symbol on your license, assume it's not compliant. Either book a DMV appointment to upgrade, or decide that your passport or trusted traveler card is going to be your go-to ID for domestic flights. Next year, the security line is not where you want to discover your license, is just a very official-looking piece of plastic. If you travel in and out of the United States a lot, global entry is still one of the closest things to a legal airport cheat code. The catch is that the price crept up. The application fee went from $100 to $120, and that's the new normal going forward. Membership still lasts 5 years and still includes TSA PreCheck, so you're getting both faster customs and a shorter security line in one package, spread out. That extra $20 works out to about $4 a year. Still a solid price for 5 years of skipping the longest lines at security and passport control. Families actually got the best part of the deal. Applicants under 18 don't pay the fee if a parent or legal guardian is already a member, or is applying at the same time through Global Entry, Nexus, or Sentry. Everyone else pays the same $120. Put that into real numbers. A family of 4 with 2 kids now pays $240 total instead of $480 if every person were charged. That's $240 saved before you've even skipped your first line. And a lot of travelers don't end up paying the sticker price anyway. Many mid-tier and premium travel credit cards now refund the Global Entry or TSA PreCheck fee every few years. If you hold one of those cards, the price increase is mostly your bank's problem, not yours. If you're thinking about it, 2 moves make life easier. Start your renewal up to a year before your current membership expires, so you don't end up in limbo. And if interview slots near you are impossible to get, look for enrollment on arrival, you clear United States immigration as usual, then finish your Global Entry interview right there instead of hunting for a random Tuesday afternoon at an enrollment center. And while most of these new rules hit you at security or immigration, one of the biggest shifts for frequent United States flyers is hiding in plain sight on a single airline, Southwest. Southwest's famous grab any open seat routine now has an end date. From January 27th, 2026, Southwest is switching to assigned seating. Instead of hovering at the gate, clutching a B-36 boarding pass and praying the row you want is still open, you'll see a seat map on most fares and pick your spot before you ever get to the airport. Boarding changes with it. The old A, B, C plus numbers give way to groups 1 through 8. You'll still board in waves, but the mad dash down the aisle eases up because everyone already knows where they're headed. I've watched a family of 4 board late and end up scattered in 3 different rows because all the good seats were snapped up in seconds. In the new setup, the mental game shifts from can we sit together to do we want an aisle seat, and is that worth paying a little more to lock in on the map? For years, Southwest has had a customer of size option that lets travelers who need more space than one seat provides use an extra seat and then request a refund afterward. The core idea is still the same. You should be able to sit safely and comfortably without squeezing or leaning into someone else's space. What's changing again from January 27th, 2026 is when you're expected to sort it out. If you already know one seat won't be enough, Southwest now wants you to book the extra seat in advance, not wait and see what happens at the gate. If the flight goes out completely full and there isn't a spare seat next to you, they can move you to a later departure where 2 adjacent seats are available. The upside is control. When you plan ahead, you're not gambling on whether there will be room or bracing for an awkward last-minute conversation in front of a full boarding area. You know you'll have the space you need, and after you travel, you can ask for a refund of that extra seat. Bottom line, if one seat has never felt comfortable, treat the second seat as part of your plan, not a favor. It protects your comfort, keeps your seatmates happier, and makes the whole experience a lot less stressful. If you or someone you love flies with a wheelchair, there's one update worth knowing. The big, stronger protection law everyone talked about is only half awake. Congress passed a law called the Ensuring Safe Accommodations for Air Travelers with Disabilities Using Wheelchairs Act to push airlines harder, clearer responsibility when a chair is damaged, better reporting, more training for staff. It sounded like a firm, if you break it, you fix it. Right now, some of those upgrades are on hold while the DOT reviews how to enforce them. The important part is this: your existing rights haven't disappeared. Airlines still have to assist wheelchair users and repair or replace damaged chairs under current disability rules. The delay is in the extra, stricter layers that were supposed to sit on top. Until the new pieces fully kick in, travel like a realist. Take photos of your chair before check-in, label key parts, keep purchase and repair info handy, and if something goes wrong, file a written complaint with the airline and the DOT. The system is moving in the right direction, it's just taxiing a lot longer than anyone hoped. Airports aren't getting simpler, but once you see how these new rules fit together, you stop feeling like the airport is something being done to you, and you start moving through it on your own terms. Now, even when your apps are set and your authorization's approved, there's still one tiny moment that decides how fast you actually get out of the building. Those few seconds with the officer at the booth. A CBP agent looks up and asks, "What's the purpose of your trip?" or "Where will you be staying?" And in a heartbeat, decides whether you're walking toward baggage claim or toward more questions. A vague, nervous answer drags things out. A clear, simple one keeps the trip moving. If you want those questions to feel routine instead of intimidating, click into 13 airport customs and immigration questions that catch travelers off guard next. Thanks for watching, safe travels, and I'll see you in that video.